வெல்கம் பேக். சட்டன் மற்றும் சீம் பகுதிக்கான ஆடும் பழமைவாத கட்சியினுடைய நாடாளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர் போல் ஸ்கலி அவர்களுடன் நாம் இலங்கையில் உள்ள நிர்வாகம் தொடர்பாகவும் பிரித்தானியா இலங்கை மீது வழங்கப்படக்கூடிய அழுத்தங்கள், பொருளாதார முன்னேற்றங்கள், அது வழங்கக்கூடிய உதவிகள், இலங்கையில் மனித உரிமைகளை நெறிப்படுத்துவதில் அது மேம்படுத்துவதில் அது வழங்கக்கூடிய ஒத்தாசைகள், அழுத்தங்கள் குறித்து அவருடன் கலந்துரையாடி கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். Scully, you were talking about some countries leaving over with China and moving towards the Western world.
Yeah.
You mentioned about Burma,
yes.
one of those countries. But there were accusations that when Burma was committing crimes against their own people, like Rohingyas, UK is accused of looking away or not focusing on those human rights issues. Do you think talking too much or exerting more pressure on the issues of human rights UK will risk a trade partner? Is that your concern?
Well, I think with Burma, I'm not sure that we looked away. I mean, Burma was a closed country. Only really, the only country more closed than Burma was probably North Korea at the time. So we had full sanctions and we led the way. But there was only so much we could do because the generals in Burma just wanted nothing to do with the rest of the world. I think we don't trade with countries at any cost.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think in terms of Sri Lanka, we have a good relationship with Sri Lanka where we can hopefully push to effect change, but also trade with them. So as I say, we don't need to have some sort of nuclear option when we are pushing our friends away from us. Instead, it's better to be with our arm around them, with the government, and saying, there's many good things about our relationship, but there are, but we are critical friends. We are want to make work with you to make you adhere to your international responsibilities. The UN Resolution 30/1, for example.
The GSP Plus is one of those leverage that the EU countries, including UK, exerted on Sri Lanka. You suspended the EU or the trade concessions on Sri Lanka sometime back, and pending that Sri Lanka should improve its human rights record before it get it back.
Yeah.
We are talking about Brexit.
Yeah.
Do you think you will have the same leverage if you get out of European Union?
Yeah, I think because, as I say, there are many international organisations that we'll be working with. So the EU is one, the UN is another, as I say, and so we will still be discussing Sri Lanka, and we'll be able to discuss with Sri Lanka directly in terms of trade relations, because at the moment these restrictions on trade through the EU is because the EU is the only game in town. Yeah. We can't do anything trade-wise at the moment whilst we're still independently, whilst we're still a member of the EU. When we're not, the EU will still be able to carry on with its own discussions with Sri Lanka. We'll be able to do ours, and we are a significant market, and we have a significant relationship with Sri Lanka already, including trade.
UK was in the forefront in bringing the UN resolution. Before that, the UN investigation on what has happened into what has happened during the final months of the war.
Yes.
And there was a UN probe, and now there was a UN resolution last year. Sri Lanka has committed to implement in full that resolution.
Yeah.
The resolution, the key element of the resolution says that the war crime accountability mechanism should include foreign judges foreign prosecutors and investigators. The people, the affected people have been wanting that. But Sri Lankan government has been playing, recently the President and the Prime Minister has said that they are not going to accept any foreign judges, it's going to be completely local. Whereas the Foreign Minister has said that no, we look into all options. What is your current position on that?
I can tell you what I can't speak on behalf of the government, although what I can say is that I haven't spoken to Boris.
But you're a
Johnson.
government minister.
No, I'm not.
I'm
an MP. I'm not a government minister. So
an MP has a
I'm an
great
MP
power
in the governing party. So I'm actually one of a backbencher that scrutinises the government as well. But all I can take is I don't want to talk on behalf of people who I've not asked their opinion. So Boris Johnson, I've not had the chance to speak to yet, and Alok Sharma. However, Philip Hammond I did, and he was keen to make sure that there was independence on that panel. And I am as well. So we have an all-party parliamentary group for the Tamil community. There's James Berry, the Kingston and Surbiton MP, is chairman. I'm one of the vice chairmen, along with a number of other Wes Streeting and people from different parties. And we've actually called upon the Sri Lankan government and pushed on a number of occasions. Wes and James have both been to Geneva to talk about this directly, to get independence. And why is that the right thing to do? Well, how can anybody stand in front of someone that may well have been a perpetrator themselves or connected to a perpetrator and have any confidence that they can speak freely without any reprisals? And that how can they have the confidence that anything will be done whilst they're speaking in front of such a person as well? Hence, you need the independence. It gives those people the confidence to be able to come forward in the first place, to be able to speak about what they've seen, what they've suffered from either directly, indirectly, or heard about, and only then can you move forward. So independence really is so important to have a degree of independence.
It is not just independence, it's about foreign involvement.
That's what I meant. Sorry, that's what I meant. I mean, in terms of the fact that you need to bring people in from the outside to give that sense of independence, and to give another perspective, and to know that they are a neutral party in the process as well.
How are you going to ensure that? We are talking about bilateral trade after Brexit.
Well, as I say, this is something. When you talk about how I'm going to ensure it, I can't ensure it because I'm not in charge of that. But all we can do is keep raising the issue.
But I said was the UK government.
Yeah, there is a commitment. There is already a commitment in the UN resolution, and we need to make sure that they stick to the resolution. Otherwise, what is the UN there for? And the UK needs to speak out much. And as I say, if we can bring pressure to bear as an individual country, then yeah, we should. We absolutely should, because that's our responsibility as well, our international responsibility. But we must also make sure that the United Nations actually serves its purpose. It's there as a collection of representatives from all these countries, of which Sri Lanka is one.
And UK,
and there's another, absolutely. So if we're all signing up to the rules of the United Nations, we should all adhere by the rules of the United Nations.
The government is involved in some consultation process on the new constitution and what kind of reconciliation mechanism they are interested in. And recently, some of the Colombo-based NGOs, the civil society groups are helping the Sri Lankan government, the new government, in carrying out this consultation process. Centre for Policy Alternatives, which is based in Colombo, was one of those civil society groups that has helped the government in consultation process that took place in the northeast, war affected areas. Its executive director, Dr. P.Karunakharan, after consultation in the Banmi, he said, and this is what he said.
The majority of people in our public consultations in the north and east have spoken about disappearances, about missing persons' disappearances. A vast number of them have made the point very clearly that as far as they are concerned, what they would favour is either an international mechanism or a mechanism which has a majority of individuals who are internationals. What comes through very clearly is that they don't have a great degree of faith and trust and confidence in something that would be exclusively domestic or national. So it is either an entirely international or majority international mechanism is what they have talked about.
So this is what the will of the people.
And I think that's eminently sensible. I think what the you talk about the consultation. What the consultation could be and should be extended to is to reach out to people that are unable to go back to Sri Lanka for the reasons that we talked about earlier. That so speaking to people in the UK and other countries as well from their experiences, because how are they going to have the confidence to go back to Sri Lanka if they don't have that the international element of the of that panel?
But the government has said that they have agreed, the cabinet has approved recently, for the victims or those who want to come forward to give witness, to do that, the external consultation process outside Sri Lanka, wherever the country they are in. But they said specifically that they can freely go to an embassy, Sri Lankan embassy in the respective countries, to give their witness statement or their opinion. Do you think there's a viable option? Do you think isn't it risky for these potential war victims, potential war crime witnesses to go to Sri Lankan embassies to give witness?
Well,
don't you think that they need a safer environment?
Yes, I mean I think it's obviously less risky than returning to Sri Lanka to give their thing. So it's a move. I think what it seems to me, and I'm not an expert in this by any stretch of imagination, but the consultation has been talked about and there has been some degree of consultation, but it's not really started in earnest yet. There needs to be so much more. There's a lot of talk within the government about the consultation, and there has been a degree, as we've just heard, in the northeast, but we need far more of it. And that's going to be action by the government. It's going to be about giving people the confidence to be able to come forward and knowing that they can be safe, that they can speak freely, and that their words will be listened to and reported back fairly. I think that they're the three things. Now, whether that will happen in a Sri Lankan embassy, I would hope that it would, but I suspect it depends on maybe the country and the different countries.
But you talk about true that it is less risky than going to Sri Lanka than giving. I mean, it's to give witness in their respective embassies. But the family back at home face risk and prosecution.
This is true. No, I can totally understand that, and especially when you do have a situation where people are still disappeared and displaced. Then no, I can very much understand that, which is why we do need to continue putting pressure on to have that international element in Sri Lanka as well.
The other one is June 26th, 5th, we had a big day in UK. We had a referendum on Brexit.
We did.
And you supportive of that Brexit?
Yeah, you can see the smile on my face because I did actually support it. On the other hand, I'm very aware that 48% of people didn't. So we need to move forward in a way that's going to take everybody's views into respect.
But does it mean that you're going to have another referendum, or you're going to give up this verdict to the people?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I wanted to leave. No, we've Theresa May has been very, very clear. Brexit means Brexit. So now I think she's done an incredibly good job, a sensible move in making effectively three people looking outwards into the world. So Boris Johnson being Foreign Secretary, effectively selling the UK on the world stage. David Davis looking at how we should best leave the EU and handle those negotiations. And then with Liam Fox being the International Trade Secretary of State, basically the person that's the opportunities that we're trying to look to gain out of Brexit, he's going to be the one to work out how to grab those opportunities. And I think that gives us I'm really optimistic and excited over the next couple of years.
But the referendum has been a Brexit or not, it has certainly been we saw it has been a Cameron exit.
A Cameron exit, yes.
Cameron and Theresa May both campaigned for in. The former Prime Minister, he quit because he couldn't convince the people to stay in. And he was replaced by another member of his own party who also has been campaigning for in. How do you reconcile?
I'm really disappointed that David Cameron stepped down. I didn't think he needed to. I can understand his reasons, but I don't think he needed to. I think he could have happily surrounded himself with people that wanted to leave to be able to negotiate that. Because he apart from Europe, we agreed on so many things. He is responsible for me winning my seat. I have no pretensions that everybody was voting for me. It was for a Conservative government led by David Cameron last year. But nonetheless, he made his decision. A number of my colleagues looked on who they wanted as a replacement, and they felt, as you described it, they felt that actually it should be someone that supported leave, that should be Prime Minister. I was not so hung up on that. Why? Because being a Prime Minister is not just about negotiating your way out of Europe. It's running the health service, it's running schools, it's running...
But I see is the logic behind it. Now, before we move further, we'll have a look at how Prime Minister Cameron left.
Good afternoon. When I first stood here in Downing Street on that evening in May 2010, I said we would confront our problems as a country and lead people through difficult decisions so that together we could reach better times. It's not been an easy journey, and of course we've not got every decision right. But I do believe that today our country is much stronger. Above all, it was about turning around the economy. And with the deficit cut by 2/3, 2.5 million more people in work, and 1 million more businesses, there can be no doubt that our economy is immeasurably stronger. Politicians like to talk about policies. I want to thank my children, Nancy, Elwyn and Florence, for whom Downing Street has been a lovely home over these last 6 years. They sometimes kick the red boxes full of work. Florence, you once
Do you think
climbed into one
he made a
before foreign
mistake by holding the referendum some 2 or 3 years in advance? Or do you think he was made a scapegoat?
I don't think he was made a scapegoat. I think actually what my view is that he held the referendum in 2016 earlier than he needed to because he thought he could cut and run and win it early rather than going long and having Euroscepticism build up over a period of time. It didn't work for him. But going back to what Theresa May can do and what she can bring to the table, apart from actually she's had a really good start in terms of being a good Prime Minister, she will be seen by European ministers, I think, as someone that supported to remain, someone that gives them a sense of confidence when it comes to negotiating how we leave, rather than someone that maybe negotiated to leave that supported leaving, that they may not have the same trust and confidence in. So I think she's a good middle person, and she's very forthright and she's very firm as well. So she'll be a tough negotiator. She's used to dealing on the European stage as well, having been Home Secretary for so many years and talking about security and safety. And she's given the team around her, the party around her, including me, the confidence that she can look both ways. She can look at the people that supported Brexit, the people that wanted to remain, and say, you know what, we're all Brexiteers now. Brexit means Brexit. We're all looking at how to implement this in the best way. So she's a good unifying influence, and I think that's where she will strike home. And especially if we don't get everything we want, chances are we won't, because that's what a negotiation is that she will be able to look at the compromises that we need to make, and I think there'll be realistic compromises rather than just folding.
But after Brexit, after that referendum, we see UK media reports and some incidents where this anti-English people or anti-British sentiment has basically reported in high numbers. Yeah. How do you think the new government will ensure that other communities are safe?
I think you're right. I think it's something that we raised, a number of us raised immediately afterwards, because I saw what happened not far from where we're sitting at the moment, the Polish War Memorial in Northolt and the Polish Community Centre in Hammersmith as well. They've both been vandalised with graffiti, some terrible, vulgar words that sprayed on there. But not just EU citizens. It wasn't even just about talking about EU citizens going back to wherever they came from and these ridiculous things. It was talking about Muslims. It was talking about people from other parts of Asia, which is patently ridiculous. Immigration is a great thing for this country. We do need to control it. We need to manage it. We need to, and that was a significant part of the Brexit debate. And as a son of an immigrant, I know the balance between the two. But these communities from wherever they came, whether inside the EU or outside, were fantastic contributors before June the 23rd. They're fantastic for the community, for our economy, for our country after the 23rd as well. There should be no change, but we must always speak out against bigotry and prejudice.
MP Paul Scully, thanks for joining us. It's nice to have you at the show. Thanks for your input on Sri Lanka as well as on the Brexit. நல்லது நேர்களே, இத்துடன் நிகழ்ச்சியை நிறைவு செய்து கொள்கிறோம். பிரெக்சிட், அதாவது பிரித்தானியா ஐரோப்பிய ஒன்றியத்திலிருந்து வெளிவரும் அந்த நிகழ்வு என்பது அடுத்த சில மாதங்களுக்கு அல்ல, அடுத்த சில வருடங்களுக்கு பிற்போடப்படலாம் என்ற ஊகத்தை அவர் இங்கு முன்வைத்திருக்கிறார். பிரித்தானிய ஆட்சியாளர்கள் மத்தியில் அது விரைவாக செய்யப்பட வேண்டும் என்ற ஒரு வேட்கை இருந்தாலும் கூட அது தனது வர்த்தக உறவுகளை ஐரோப்பிய ஒன்றியத்துடனும் ஐரோப்பிய ஒன்றிய நாடுகளுடனும் இருதரப்பு உறவுகளுடனும் வளர்த்து கொள்வதன் பின்னர் தான் ஒரு சிரமமான நிலையில்தான் அந்த ஆர்டிக்கல் 50, அதாவது 50வது சரத்தென்று கூடிய, அதாவது ஐரோப்பிய ஒன்றியத்திலிருந்து பிரித்தானியா வெளியேறி செல்லும் அந்த முயற்சியை முன்னெடுக்கும் என்று அவர் தெரிவித்திருக்கிறார். நல்லது நேயர்களே, இத்துடன் நிகழ்ச்சி நிறைவு செய்து கொள்கிறோம். மற்ற நிகழ்ச்சியில் சந்திக்கும் வரை உங்களிடம் வந்து விடைபெற்றுக் கொண்டு நான் P.Karunakharan. நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you.